Hey everyone, Ben here, and we're underway with our first Super Formula race of the week at Okayama, and surely our luck is going to change after a bruising week at the Red Bull Ring. But this is a very challenging combination in its own right, as you can already get a sense of as we snake our way through the opening turns on this first lap of the race. We got cold tyres, we got cold brakes, but an extremely hot track, and that means it's very low grip here, particularly in the early stages of this race. There's one driver, Rick Velden, there on the outside, perhaps discovering to his own cost. But we're onto the back straight now, and we're heading towards the very technical middle section as drivers jostling for position up ahead. Kyle Gaheen is going to get in just slightly wide into the tight right-hander. That's going to give me a chance to duck down his inside, but we're side by side as we go through the complex here, and this is very tight racing. Fantastic that he's giving me space there on the outside. Not every driver does that, as we might find out a little bit later in the race. He holds the position for now, but I'm going to duck down the inside to the left-hander. Again, not much room to work with here. Sergio Gomez just up ahead. I don't want to run into him, and Gaheen is still down my inside. We've been running side by side now for the best part of half a lap as we come through the very fast right-hander, and I've just got to give him space as he had the inside line. So we live to fight another day as we round the first lap here at Okayama. We're going to skip forward to lap 5. Now we've made up a couple of positions here. We're running in P13. Tucked nicely in behind Sergio Gomez, and the pace is starting to come towards me. We're nearly halfway through this race, but it's only really been in the last lap or so that I've felt comfortable with the car underneath me. But that is all going to change in a heartbeat as Joseph Lucas and Jeremy Thomas get together, and there's a big crash on the start-finish straight. And unfortunately, I just picked the wrong direction because the driver was reversing all the way across the track. I thought I should head back towards the scene of the accident, but he stopped in the middle of the racing line, and unfortunately, that was my race over. Right then, time for a second attempt here at Okayama. Another fixed race, so it's a short race distance. We qualified in P7 for this one, and the lights are on and we are underway. And again, it's tricky to get these cars off the start line. T1, a moment of maximum danger. We're going to get straight past the driver just up ahead of us, and there's a collision up ahead, so we're going to benefit from that again. We've made up positions through T1. We've gotten lucky by being able to stay safe, but we've got a driver around my outside. That's Ramil Fatkulov, and he is going to be right the way alongside me as we come through this high-speed snaking section for the first time. I have to just bleed out of the throttle slightly because I didn't want to collide with him. We're on the outside through the hairpin for the first time, and we're going to get nicely early on the gas, and if I just activate my boost button, then I should be able to stay ahead of him, and we've been able to do that. And I think we're up into P5, and that's where we'd stay up until lap 5. Now we're following closely behind Alejandro Miguel and Adrian Sanchez up ahead, but I'm coming under pressure from Sasha Kabotaru behind me, so I'm going to have to come to the inside line here. They've got their boost deployed, I'm pretty sure of that, but I'm going to show them the long way around the corner. Now, as we showed in race 1, it is possible to go side by side through this section of track. I'm going to give them plenty of space on the inside, but they afford me no space on the outside, and that is a race-ending collision. And at this point, I'm beginning to lose the will to live. I can't believe I can't get a clean race in here. You can see on the replay there was just no need to resume the racing line there when there was still an overlap. We'll see it from the driver behind vantage point. He's got nowhere to go once this collision happens. It's a marginal contact, but really it's unnecessary, and that was our race over. More safety rating lost, more I rating lost, and I am on a terrible run here in the Super Formula. But I decide to come back for one more go, this time in the open setup race. Now this is a longer race distance. It's going to be around 35 minutes, 29 laps of Okayama to go. We're in a lower split because I've lost so much I rating. We're going to be starting from P5 on the grid. The lights are already on then. Once more, eyes focused down into T1. We get a decent enough start, and it looks like one of the drivers up ahead, that's actually the pole sitter, has had a terrible start. That's Shota Murai. He's lit the tyres up, and actually he's gone off properly into T1, and we came very close to being collected by Jose Figueras on our outside there. We're still side by side coming through the left-hander. He will have more momentum, and he ends up taking the position. So we gained a position from the start as Murai span his car out, and look at that, another driver up ahead. That's Maxime Gaud, really struggling with the cold tyres and brakes here on lap 1. one. So we gained a position from Murai, and then we lost one to Figueras, who's now attacking into the right-hander here. Will he make it 2 positions gained, 3 positions gained on this opening lap? Well, we'll see, because they're side by side. Once again, I'm really nervous here because I've already seen cars collide in this section of track just in my very last race. Thankfully, everybody gets through safely this time, and we settle in behind Figueras. Not a bad start then, all in all, to come through with 0x, no damage on the car, and still running in the top 5. I've got to be pleased with that. But it's Randall who's assumed the lead of this race, followed by Bowling in P2. We're up into 5th position. We've got Vincent Barbier behind me in 6th position. He's a member of the Broca Discord community, so happy to see him running up in the top 6. Let's take a replay from the start. Then you can see the pole sitter very close there to spinning the car off the start, and then as he tried to go around the outside into T1, he does eventually spin the car. Now we will rejoin the track here, but he comes very close to wiping out a driver who's coming from a pit lane start, I think. Thankfully he didn't. But if you were wondering how close we came to Figueras through T1, that's the answer: extremely close. We rejoin the live action then, and we're closing in on the rear wing of Figueras. We're actually running very similar paces here, and he is still clearly locking the tyres, finding the car just a little bit difficult to balance through some of these corners. Clearly, tyres and brakes still not up to temperature, or he's suffering with the track temperature itself, because at the moment it feels like I've got more pace than he does through this opening section of the race, and you can see just how much we've closed in towards the end of this lap. But unfortunately for me, he's going to hold on through this final couple of corners, actually get a better run out of them. He'll deploy his boost button, and for now at least he's going to be able to hold me off as we come to start another lap here at Okayama. We fast forward in the race to lap 8, and yes, Figueras has actually opened up a significant gap on me here. But to be honest, given our misfortune in previous races, I am playing a bit of a long game here. I'm just trying to build up my pace, settle into a rhythm, and then I'll use my boost button more towards the end of the race. But that has afforded Galo Aceves a chance to get down my inside here. He's closed us in significantly over the past few laps, so I'm not going to defend too hard. I'm not going to seek to run side by side through that tricky technical section, given I came a cropper there in the last race. And as you can see on the replay here, it's a good pass. He was using his boost button, he had the draft, and that was him up into P5. So we dropped down into P6, but still running in a very strong position. And actually, as we rejoin the live action on lap 15, I was running very consistently as well. Very pleased with this pace. It's not the quickest lap times you're ever going to see around Okayama, but I was able to repeat it lap after lap after lap and just hold my position. But we've gotten a spotter message there that there was a car off to the left-hand side, and that is John Bowling off onto the grass. What's happened there? Well, Bowling was coming to pass a back marker, and then while he got down the inside, he unfortunately carried too much speed through the corner. You'll see it again here, and he just slid the car around and in a very awkward spot, so it took him a while to get back on track. So that put me back up into P5. Now you can see the gaggle of cars up ahead as we rejoin the live action. There was going to be another accident. That's Aceves off to the left hand side, and he was again trying to get past the back marker, Cedric Sammy. He clearly felt there was an opportunity down the inside, but then could see the gap closing, got on the brakes, and that unsettled the car. It wasn't a big incident, but it was enough to slow him down considerably. We got past, and then crucially, Bowling got past as well. We rejoin the live action then later on lap 16, and now it's my turn to try and get past Sammy here up ahead. Now he's slowing us down considerably through this technical section of the track because there's really no way to get past, and he hasn't peeled off the racing line yet. So as we come on to the start finish line, I'm going to deploy my boost button for one of the first times in this race and try and come to the inside. I'm hoping he's going to bleed off the throttle early here, but he doesn't. He hits his braking marker as usual, but he is hanging out wide. That's going to give me a chance to get down the inside, and thankfully I've been able to clear him, but so is Bowling behind. And remember, he is on a recovery drive here, and he was running up in P2, so he's probably got more speed than I do. So we're on to lap 19 now, and I'm still managing to hold Bowling behind, but he is ramping up the pressure here as we cross the start finish line to start another lap. We're continuing to set laps in the high 14s, and he is probably now going to be putting pressure on through this lap to try and get past. You can see him closing in my rear view mirror, but then look at that, he's gone off to the right hand side, so he's made some kind of mistake pushing too hard through that section of corners. Let's take a look at it from his vantage point on replay, and you can see he's tucked nicely underneath my rear wing, but he is using the boost, and that maybe just means he lights up the tyres, he gets out onto the gravel, and that would give a Ceres a chance to get alongside. And what's about to unfold here is absolutely critical to my race fortunes. The two drivers going side by side into the hairpin, and at this stage it looks as if Bowling might have successfully held the Ceres off, but actually he's going to attack him again down into the heavy braking zone of the right-hander, and you can see they're side by side here, giving each other plenty of space, and Ceres is able to make the move. Bowling, though, is not happy with that. He's going to try and put pressure straight back on. They're running very closely here through the left-hander, too closely, as Bowling clashes with Ceres, and they would both end up in pit lane, and that would give me a clean run through to the end of this race. No real pressure from behind. I wasn't able to close in on Figueras significantly up ahead. We were running very similar lap times, but we would finish just a couple of seconds back behind him. Crucially, we've got green numbers for safety rating and for iRacing after a terrible run of races in the Super Formula. I'm not going to lie to you, I found it very, very frustrating, but the car itself is fantastic to drive, so I am going to stick with it. I'm hoping that as the season progresses, my luck and the driving standards improve, and I'm able to bring you more excellent races in this wonderful new car on iRacing. But for now, I'm just glad to have gotten through one race cleanly. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, I think you'll really enjoy the one that's on screen now.